L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire de la ministre de la Petite Entreprise, de promotion de l'exportation et pour le commerce international.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, et je partagerai mon temps avec la députée de Davenport. J'aimerais également remercier mes collègues pour leurs réflexions et leur contribution à ce débat sur les répercussions de cette pandémie sur les Canadiens, les petites entreprises et les différents secteurs de notre économie. Certes, ça a été une année très difficile pour tant de Canadiens à travers le pays. Mais ces derniers mois et surtout ces dernières semaines, avec l'accélération des livraisons de vaccins aux provinces, nous avons raison de croire que des jours meilleurs s'en viennent. En fait, je sais, Monsieur le Président, qu'ils s'en viennent. Mais d'ici là, le gouvernement fédéral reste déterminé à faire tout ce qu'il faut pour aider les Canadiens à traverser cette crise. C'est ce que nous faisons d'ailleurs depuis le tout début de cette pandémie. Mr. Speaker, I'm always pleased to discuss federal programs to support Canadian workers and small businesses. I am, however, a little surprised that this is now, 1 year later, a new focus of my colleagues at the Conservative Party. After all, it was the member for Carleton, when he was then Conservative finance critic, who proudly proclaimed that he and all Conservative members do not believe in quote unquote big fat government programs, and that the COVID-19 pandemic's economic impacts could be addressed with just a few tax cuts. In this light, let us then take a moment to appreciate just how far we've come and take stock of the Conservative motion before us today, which aims to broaden existing programs, increase government expenditures, and even create new programs. In short, it sounds like now they are asking us to make our existing government programs even bigger and even fatter. But have no doubt, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to our position and the position of the entire government, we knew from the very beginning 1 year ago that we had to intervene to ensure Canadians and Canadian small businesses had the supports that they needed. And intervene we did. We quickly put into place Canada's COVID-19 economic response plan. This plan continues to keep our economy stable, protect jobs, and give Canadians the means to support their families. One of the first measures we implemented was the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, so folks could continue to pay their rent and mortgages and feed their children while doing their part to defeat the virus by staying home. Between March and October, as the House knows, the CERB alone supported nearly 9 million Canadians. As the situation continued to evolve, we put in place other critical benefits for Canadian workers. I'm pleased to report to this House that as of February 28, the Canada Recovery Benefit has supported 1.8 million Canadian workers. The Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit, close to 350,000 Canadian workers, and the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, over 400,000 Canadian workers. Récemment, nous avons introduit le projet de loi du gouvernement C-24 pour augmenter le nombre de semaines de prestations offertes dans le cadre de ces programmes. Cependant, les conservateurs ne veulent pas en débattre, et j'y reviendrai. But of course, Mr. Speaker, I cannot mention our support to Canadian workers without mentioning the emergency wage subsidy. We are literally subsidizing the paychecks of over 5 million Canadian workers across the country through this subsidy. Every single day, I speak to entrepreneurs who tell me that without this program, they would have had to lay off their employees, their team. The essence of their business would have been gone, and it is nearly impossible to recover from that. In early April of last year, we launched the Canada Emergency Business Account, which is an interest-free loan that provides up to $60,000 to small businesses, of which 33% is in the form of a non-repayable or grant. Close to 850,000 small businesses have already benefited from this critical funding. When businesses told us that they needed additional help with their fixed costs, we introduced the rent subsidy program and the associated lockdown support, which is covering up to 90% of rent expenses for our small businesses. 130,000 businesses across the country are using this subsidy. And I'm going to stray from my remarks a little bit here, but yesterday the Conservatives voted against Bill C-14, which allows small businesses to claim the rent subsidy before their rent is due. Essentially, this measure permits businesses to keep greater cash flow. It helps entrepreneurs weather difficult times at no real extra cost to the federal government. and they voted against it. Something that supports small businesses with cash flow at no additional government funding being allocated. I cannot think of a more fiscally prudent way of supporting our business community, and the Conservatives voted against it. La motion devant nous demande justement d'établir un nouveau soutien pour nos entreprises les plus affectées. Mais, Monsieur le Président, c'est exactement ce que nous avons déjà fait. En janvier, nous avons lancé le programme de crédit pour les secteurs très touchés, offrant des prêts à faible taux d'intérêt allant jusqu'à 1 million de dollars, entièrement garantis par le gouvernement fédéral. La motion parle aussi d'implémenter un soutien spécifique pour le secteur aérien. Mes collègues savent bien que nous nous sommes présentement en négociation pour assurer un soutien au secteur, tout en demandant des remboursements pour les consommateurs et des engagements sur le transport régional. Il est intéressant que ce soit maintenant, alors que nos négociations avancent et progressent et qu'un accord se rapproche, que les conservateurs décident de soudainement faire de cet enjeu leur cheval de bataille. Ce gouvernement reconnaît l'importance de notre secteur aérien, Monsieur le Président, et fera le nécessaire pour le soutenir. Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. All of these support programs cost money, and this government did spend a lot of money. If you ask me, it was money well spent. Personally, I consider myself to be somewhat fiscally conservative. We are the trustees of taxpayer dollars. We have a duty, in my view, to be prudent and wise in how we spend. But who in this House is willing to make the argument that families, workers, and businesses should have gone deep into debt so that the government didn't have to? Canada is a AAA creditor, and we borrow at about a 0% interest rate. Small businesses can't say the same. As Parliamentary Secretary responsible for small business and international trade, I'm always willing to discuss with my colleagues opposite the ways that we can support our entrepreneurs and business community. But there's simply no clear position being taken by the Conservative Party on how we do that. For example, the Conservative member for Stevenson Richmond East complained that we are, quote, spending like there's no tomorrow. The member for Surrey Moose Mountain said government spending was leading him to be disappointed in the current state of Canada. Yet here we are today debating a Conservative motion asking for more spending. While I'm aware that the Conservative finance portfolio recently changed hands and some policy changes are normal, this is close to a complete U-turn. It is hard these days, Mr. Speaker, to figure out what the Conservatives actually stand for. Is it more spending or is it less? Do they agree that Canada should run a deficit to support Canadians or don't they? Are they asking us to spend today so that they can attack us on the deficit later? Are they refusing to sit for extended hours in the evening to delay supports for Canadians? Why? C-24 would substantially expand support for our workers, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, our Conservative colleagues have refused to work through the evening to debate and pass C-24. The member from Kildonan St. Paul and critic for future workforce development and disability and inclusion herself stated that Bill C-24 was straightforward and that time is of the essence to get this bill through. But that message does not seem to have made its way to the leadership of the Conservative Party. It's a good thing that Canadians do know where we stand, where this government stands. And they also know that we will continue to ensure Canadians and Canadian businesses are supported right through to the end of this pandemic, because protecting and supporting Canadians is and will always be our top priority. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Questions, commentaires? L'honorable député, the honorable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member or the Parliamentary Secretary for her intervention today. And I want her to address a point because she touched on it, and she talked about the government spending money so that families and individuals didn't have to. And of course, one of the talking points that we hear, I heard it from the member from Barrie Innisfil this morning, was, well, it's not the government's money, it's the people's money, which obviously is the case. And I think that most people are fully aware of that. But when the government chooses to do it, they're taking the responsibility on as a burden for society as a whole, as opposed to individual people, so that as a society, collectively, we can get through the struggles that we're faced with right now. I'm wondering if she'd like to expand on that, and in particular, how important it is that society take on this burden as opposed to individuals.
Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague not only for his question, but for holding down the House. I would also, agree with him in that, yes, the government and all of the members in the House of Commons are trustees of taxpayer dollars. This money, I truly believe, belongs to Canadians. But I also think that we are responsible for supporting Canadians with this money. And if it were not for our government's many programs, if it were not for the actions taken by our government, we would see families with credit card debt increasing to exponential rates. We would see families on the street in some cases because they couldn't pay their rent or their mortgages. I'm thinking also of the 5 million Canadians that we are supporting through the wage subsidy and how important it is not only to their bottom line that they're able to keep their job and their paychecks, but that they continue to be affiliated to their business. Because when the pandemic ends, we want businesses to be able to open their doors and quickly, and they need to keep their staff on payroll. They need to keep their team.
We'll go on to the next question. Question et commentaire. Alors, la députée de Thérèse de Blainville.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bien, je poserai la question suivante à la collègue. Moi, j'ai l'impression, puis on l'entend régulièrement, là, d'aider les Canadiennes et les Canadiens, là, personne n'est contre ça. On a vu la crise. Mais là, tous les discours qu'on entend en termes de bilan de la part du gouvernement, on semble figé dans le temps. On semble figé dans le temps de mars 2020, alors qu'on est dans la deuxième vague de la pandémie et qu'il faut s'en sortir. C'est l'absence de vision qu'on déplore. Comment on réfléchit à la relance? Pas de budget depuis 2 ans. On va peut-être en avoir un au mois d'avril, mais c'est ça la question posée par la motion. Il y a des secteurs particuliers où il faut une aide plus spécifique. C'est quoi la vision d'avenir plutôt que le passé qu'on entend?
Secrétaire parlementaire.
Merci et je remercie ma collègue pour cette excellente question. Effectivement, je suis tout à fait d'accord. Il faut pouvoir réagir et nous l'avions fait en janvier, Monsieur le Président. Il y a que quelques mois, nous avons lancé un nouveau programme pour les secteurs durement touchés. C'est exactement ça que nous avons vu était nécessaire. Je pense à nos restaurants, à notre secteur touristique et hospitalier. Évidemment, on veut débattre aujourd'hui de C24 qui va faire en sorte de rajouter des semaines de prestations pour des travailleurs canadiens et québécois qui en ont besoin. Monsieur le Président, on est constamment en train de réagir et réajuster afin de répondre aux besoins sur le terrain.
Time for one last question. The honourable member for Hamilton Mountain.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member, the parliamentary secretary, for her intervention. I want to touch on where she had talked about the wage subsidy and how is it the way it's happening. But public reporting suggests that since the start of the pandemic, Air Canada has received about $492 million by December. I think it was by September the 30th. And that would make it one of the largest recipients of the wage subsidy in Canada. And despite this, workers that have been laid off haven't been offered the wage subsidy. So my question, this is happening not only in Air Canada, but WestJet also. Does the member know why this is happening when the money was supposed to be going to protect workers' jobs?
Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Small Business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleague opposite. We received approximately 430,000 distinct applications for the wage subsidy. We did not discriminate on size. Why? Because a worker that works for Air Canada is just as much deserving of support from this federal government as a worker working for a small business. As much as I am a huge proponent, obviously, for small businesses right across the country, I do believe that all Canadian workers, regardless of where they work, deserve the support of this federal government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate.